The death of another loathed Middle Eastern tyrant, a man who was also for decades a sponsor of international terror, Moammar Gadhafi. 7 months ago, the United States threw its support behind rebel forces in Libya. Today, those fighters finally got their man. ABC's Christiane Amanpour joins us tonight with the details. Christiane, how did it all finally happen?
Well, Cynthia, another one bites the dust. It's been a very bad year for dictators in that part of the world, as people in the Arab world are really still fighting for their freedom. Somebody told me Moammar Gadhafi was like a vampire to his people. They had to see him dead in order to believe that he would never come back again. He was dragged through the streets today. It was quite graphic, and we have to warn our viewers that the video of his last moments is quite difficult to watch. It's an astonishing scene. Moammar Gadhafi, once one of the world's most powerful dictators, battered and bloody, the fear visible on his face as death looms. Hard to believe this was him just months ago, laughing off the armed rebellion that today finally ended his 42-year rule over Libya.
They love me, all my people with me. They love me all.
But if they do love you...
They will die to protect me, my people.
It would be his final interview, and his legendary eccentricity was on full display. The President of the United States, the leaders of Britain and other leaders are calling on you to step down, to leave Libya, to leave your position of power. Will you do that?
Why do I leave my homeland? Why do I leave Libya?
He never did flee. And today he died at the hands of his own people, aided by a 7-month bombing campaign led by Britain and France and the United States.
The dark shadow of tyranny has been lifted, and with this enormous promise, the Libyan people now have a great responsibility.
Just 27 when he first came to power in Libya, Gadhafi was a dashing figure who quickly created a cult of personality. Dressed in flashy outfits that bordered on costume, he surrounded himself with a phalanx of heavily armed women known as the Amazonian Guard. He welcomed visiting dignitaries in a tent that he pitched wherever he went. Perhaps his most infamous moment was the bombing of Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, which killed 270 people, most of them Americans. At home in Libya, he created an insular world that he ruled with an iron fist. As you drove through the streets of Tripoli, the capital, his image was everywhere, and he loomed large within even his own family. A father to 8 children by 2 wives, his offspring were just as outlandish as their father. One son flew in Beyoncé for a New Year's Eve party. Another kept a pet lion at the Tripoli Zoo, and Gadhafi's glamorous daughter Aisha, with her dyed blonde hair, was known as the Claudia Schiffer of North Africa. So what was it like to live in Gadhafi's world? Tonight, we bring you an exclusive look from a very unlikely source.
No, for me it was all opportunity.
Meet Jacqueline Frazier, a young American woman who became a member of the inner circle, and from there, watched the regime slowly unravel. What is a blonde American girl from Vermont doing in the heart of darkness? How did you end up in Libya?
A mutual friend in Los Angeles who introduced me to Saadi Gadhafi.
Saadi Gadhafi was long considered a playboy, even among his high-living family. He had left Libya for Europe, where he had a brief and unspectacular career as a professional soccer player. But by last year, he had returned to Libya with the intention of helping to create new business in the country.
And I was hired to be a liaison between incoming American companies for a project he was working on.
And when you got to Tripoli, what did you think? I mean, the plane landed, you got out for the first time. What was going through your mind?
It was surreal. I saw very few women were out and about on the streets and in my environment as I kind of navigated the streets of Tripoli.
And what was that like, being the only foreigner, being a woman, being American and blonde?
Everywhere you go, they're very welcoming in Libya. They love, and anyone who's coming in, it shows, I think, a sign of prosperity that their country is coming up. So they love to see maybe a blonde American woman represents the future to them.
And Jackie felt good about the future of Libya as foreign investment rolled in. And she says the Gaddafis always treated her well.
I didn't feel the oppression or the kind of culture of paranoia that you would as a typical Libyan. So I saw the best parts of Libya.
So when did you become aware? Did you become aware of the
the dark side of the Gaddafis.
I knew of the dysfunction within the family early on because I knew there was a lot of competition.
Over what?
Over attention from the father, success, the chance to prove that they were not only a good son, but a good leader. There were times when he would favor one son, and that son would feel very confident, and then the father would change favor and favor another son, and that created fissures within their family.
Soon her concerns were much bigger than family dynamics. The country had started to buck under Gaddafi's rule, and there were the stirrings of a revolution in eastern Libya.
How did you perceive the first rumblings of the uprising?
Very little. I think that's one of the reasons that plays into this kind of denial factor for the family and for the Libyans, was there was very little rumblings. So when Tunisia fell and when Egypt fell, with two countries on both sides falling, I asked the question many times, what is your plan? What is happening? And I saw nothing.
Was it scary?
It wasn't scary until the day after it happened, after the revolution, where we knew things were really starting to move. And yes, that was scary.
She says Gaddafi and his family were in denial. She was with us the day I interviewed the colonel.
I don't know if you recall, we were running late and I asked the gentleman next to me, what time is this going to get started? And the response from the Libyan handler was, he has the will of the gods and he will arrive at just the right time. So I did think he was very charismatic, but it was also clear to me how out of touch with reality he was.
But did they believe it when they heard people saying inside, down with Gaddafi, we want him out?
I don't think so. I still question that myself and grapple with that. I don't think that they believed it, A, and B, I don't think many people were telling them that they were not liked.
What did you tell him?
I told him many times they weren't liked. I told them not only that they weren't liked, but that and ultimately, they would win by playing this in a Western way, which is not to shut down and become closed off and to not allow journalists to interview people who have voices of dissension. They felt that if they had to quiet everyone.
In the end, it was the Gaddafis who were silenced. The dictator dead, a fate Jacqueline had predicted.
Are you surprised that they didn't give up, that they didn't leave?
Not at all. I don't think there's only two ways for them to end up, and that's dead or in jail.
A bloody legacy that today came to a bloody end. For Nightline, this is Christiana Manpour.